Good morning, everybody, and this is your SP 500 day trade setups for today. So, data is out of the way, or should we say non-farm payrolls is out of the way, and we did reject 45.31, but not with much conviction. So, this could be a megaphone there, could be a double top, could be a rejection when you look at this on the higher time frames, but nothing convincing yet. So oscillators have crossed over. We haven't crossed over the 80, but we basically, the crossovers happened over there, and we're kind of pointing to the downside. I'm not entirely convinced of what we've seen here, that this is the top, and I'm also not convinced that this is something to pay attention to moving forward for a setup long. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the lower time frames. That is pretty much what, pretty much the only thing we can do. So if you look at the week, last week was a fairly strong week to the upside, and then we went sideways. Okay, so if you look at the oscillators here, you'll see they've separated, pointing down, and I would argue that we are looking for support. Now there is the previous swing high, and you can see how we are flirting with that. So those are the two levels that we need to be paying attention to. We'll get to them in detail now. And if you look at that on the hourly, pretty much nothing changed from Thursday. So we did get above that level, but then immediately came back and found support at the bottom end. Bit of diversions here, very slight diversions. You can see that's a lower low, whereas that is a higher low there on the oscillators. Lots of gaps to the downside in amongst the moving averages. So for me, this is a be very careful situation. So what you need to be doing is look where the structure is, and each one of these tails on the 50-minute is going to be structure. So if we do start rejecting, I want to see it reject, come back and test the rejection. Then there's possibly a short. I don't think there's going to be longs, to be honest. We're either going to range or we are looking for something deeper. And for me, this is what I would expect us to be hunting, and that's 44.76. So where we are now, 45.18, so we're still bouncing around this 4500 level and trying to get going. But it is a Monday, so Mondays are pretty much muted. So they're very, very subdued, and there's typically very low volumes as well. So I'm kind of, leaning towards the point that this is a range, and we need to wait for that range to break and retest before we take on anything. But what I am going to say is that this signal here, this big inside bar, not quite off structure, but it is rather telling with 3 follow-throughs. And if you read any of your charting books, they'll tell you that those are the 3 soldiers or 3 ladies or whatever you want to call. So it's typically the start of a trend. So I'm leaning towards a rejection of 4,500. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But until we get the rejection and the retest, we are sideways. So I think for me, I don't see anything either on the 5-minute. I don't think there's going to be much opportunities here. You can see 50-minute and 5-minute, we're sort of above the moving averages, and we've got a crossover. But this could be a flag based on this move that we had to the downside here. So yeah, I'd be watching this level, 45.18 basically, to see if we do reject that. But it is also possible we just come back up here, reject the top, and come down. So yeah, so I think for me, sit on the sides, stay away from it. Well, not stay away from it, just pay very close attention to 45.31. How much are we talking about? 100 points. So there's a 100 point long and short here. So we find a base above here, you're probably moving up to there to 45.31. And if you reject this, you're probably moving down to the bottom of the range at 45.05. I think that's kind of what we've got in offer at the moment. I don't see anything else. But it's going to be messy. So if you don't want to be sitting in front of the charts, then I'd leave it. If you're going to be sitting in front of the charts, then pay attention to 45.18. Get above it, build a base. There's a chance that you can at least close the gap up there. Short, well, it's going to be a long scalp, and then if it rejects up there, then you're probably going to move back down to the bottom of the range. But if we drop below 45.05, come back and retest it, it's game on for this level here, which is 44.76, and then all these gaps to the downside. But anyway, so the confusion really continues. I think there's no real good structure at the moment. So just be patient. Something will break shortly. Hope it helps, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Cheers for now.